That 70s Remodel, a Build Original series, is brought to you by Huber Engineered Woods.
This home started with all the usual 1970s problems: dated design, poor insulation, and inefficient materials that just couldn't keep up with today's standards. But this isn't just a cosmetic update, it's a full performance overhaul, and that starts with the building envelope. Upgrading the enclosure to ZIP System R-sheathing helped us boost the home's thermal performance while streamlining our install. It gave us a continuous exterior insulation and a built-in water-resistant barrier all in one step. In Utah's variable climate, we rely on ZIP System products for both remodels and new builds. They help us manage moisture, air leakage, and insulation without overcomplicating the wall assembly. With ZIP System and AdvanTech, we get fewer steps, faster installation, and job site durability that holds up even when the weather doesn't cooperate. These are trusted brands among top builders for a reason: reliability, performance, and ease of use on real-world job sites. Learn more and check out available rebates at huberwood.com. Hey guys, I'm Stephanie Dailey with Dailey Construction, and welcome back to the Build Show. This is our 10th and final episode here at That 70s Remodel. We're gonna do a whole recap, all the good, the bad, our budget, and our timeline. I wanna start off this video over here on the front porch. Come over here with me. Now, if you remember back, this house was a brick rambler that had some pretty terrible siding on it, and overall just struggled. It was a house built in the late 70s. It must have been some type of a kit house or a little bit of a mix of a pre-manufactured building, but we came through and did a full exterior reno. One of the struggles that I ran into, and one of the things that had I had, I don't know, an extra $5,000 to $10,000 in the budget, I probably would have torn off this front porch and rebuilt it. The problem we had was the home was built, the brick was installed, pretty much the entire exterior was done. And then they said, oh, we should add a covered front porch. They poured this front porch after the fact. So behind all of these steps and behind all of the porch cap was brick. So around this outside edge over here and around the edge up against the face of the house here, we removed the brick to install our ZIP R and our cultured stone product, but it didn't come all the way out to the face of where the concrete was poured for the front porch cap. I didn't love that detail. The way the walls were actually built, we couldn't really come through and fill that with concrete. It just didn't work out. Kind of just the method in which they put this together in the first place wasn't great. So had I had another $5,000 to $10,000 in the budget, I probably would have recommended we rebuilt this entirely. I don't think it's a great idea to have the concrete poured up to the brick. Matter of fact, that same detail happened in the back of the house where the stairs attached to the house. And that's actually where we found the majority of our water damage and termite damage, was behind the areas where they had poured concrete up to the brick, directly up to the raw wood with no weather barrier. So as you can imagine, that's where a huge portion of our problems came from. When we did this demo, we were able to come through and fix it up, get it all cleaned up, but I still just, this is one of those details that I wish I could have handled a little differently. We did this reno on a budget. So we had a really tight budget. We were actually trying to stay under $200,000 for this full exterior renovation. Our goal was actually to create a tighter envelope and to give the home a much better, more efficient utilities month to month. The homeowner is turning this into an Airbnb, so having those good utilities and also a comfortable home was top priority. So with our budget, we just weren't able to handle that. But I do like the way that we were able to kind of finish this out. A few other things we did out here that I love. We built up this column from the original column size just to try and make it actually match the aesthetic of the home. It was a simple like 3x3 post before, so we just beefed it up a little bit, added a nice little pop out at the bottom, and I think this turned out great. Additionally, we had a wall-mounted sconce here that just did not look great. It also didn't put out enough light. And with the homeowner using this as a rental, they want to be able to have people come here safely and also be able to keep an eye on their house. So we added the 2 cans overhead. We also put a metal soffit up here that looks a ton better than the wood that was here before. Just wasn't in the best shape. So super happy with how that turned out. We also replaced all of the exterior doors and windows. And this product from Therma-Tru, I think, just cleaned up really nicely. It is a stock door. So again, working on a budget, this was a perfect option for us. We were able to come through and pick the different window configurations and also the door style. So really happy with how that turned out. Let's walk over here to this front window. I'm going to walk you through the details and the struggles we found there. All right, guys, when we actually started this house had like a little box bay window on the front of it with a little shed roof that went back. We found a ton of water damage here, and the homeowners actually said that they did get quite a bit of leakage through this bay window. Just wasn't built great, wasn't sealed well. That's kind of a common theme with the house here, but this was just kind of a leak problem right from the beginning. So we got rid of that entirely and actually recessed the window back in flush with the outside wall of the house. One of the things that I loved about doing this was we were able to take the opening for the box bay and use that same overall width and height. But now that we don't have all the framing for the box bay, we were able to increase the window size. So right inside of here where the family room is, this window is much larger than the original window that we had on the home. I think it looks great, turned out perfect, and I'm really happy with how this looks. Let's walk around back and talk about some of the features that we have going on over there. All right, as we make our way over to the side of the house, one of the things I want to stop and talk about is the garage door. The one that was on here was in decent shape. It was just a standard metal, non-insulated, kind of rickety older door. So it did function, but with all the other upgrades we were doing, it made sense to actually come through and replace the door. We decided to replace it with a fully insulated flat panel, just something really simple and modern looking. We did add a row of these tempered glass windows at the top to try and put some light into the garage. And when we end, we'll actually come back over here. We had the opportunity to come through and finish the entire inside of the garage so that these Airbnb guests are a lot more comfortable when they come to visit. We also added some lighting just on the front of the garage to try and make sure that as the guests came home at night, they had light to get in and out of their cars and they didn't feel like it was too dark. So really happy with that upgrade. As we walk around the side of the house here, one of the things I want to point out is we've actually returned this full height cultured stone just around the corner a couple feet. I don't love when we switch a material height. It doesn't matter the material, but I don't love when we switch the height on an outside corner. So typically we like to just wrap it over a few feet and then we can make this transition on the side of the home where it's a lot less noticeable. In this case, using the cultured stone, when you see that from the front, you can actually tell that that is a thin cut, cultured, manufactured stone. So that also gives us the opportunity to wrap it around. And from the front, it actually looks like full bed stone because they have these great corner pieces that come with just about any cultured stone product. So love that detail. And we try and actually do that on pretty much any house we build. If you remember, about halfway through our project here, we decided that we were going to add all brand new HVAC equipment. And part of the problem we had with that was the house didn't have air conditioning originally. So the main service coming into the house just wasn't equipped to handle one, let alone two air conditioners. We had a 100 amp service on the home. So we actually came through and replaced the service. We upgraded the service to a 200 amp. That gave us the ability to run both of our air conditioning condensers, but we also have a couple electric car chargers here in the garage that it also is now capable of running. With it being a short-term rental or some type of an Airbnb, there are a lot of people who are renting and also driving electric cars today. So having not one, but two electric car chargers in the garage is a huge bonus for this client. We've also, again, replaced the exterior door out here. We added a light to the side of the exterior door. There's a few things you want to make sure that you're taking care of with a rental, and that is safety, comfort, and ease of use. So having these exterior lights is a huge deal when it comes to safety, and I'm really happy with how the black contrast with white and how that ended up looking. I also love the one thing that we made that I felt like made a huge impact. We actually took the stone all the way up the chimney on this house. Just gives it that extra little touch and something really nice that I'm happy with how it turned out. We did replace the chimney cap on the top of this house because the other cap just wasn't great. And again, A lot of the water damage we were seeing was actually coming through this chimney chase. And actually we had some mold and some rotted baseboard down in the basement where it had actually ran all the way through down into the lower floor. So we were able to take pretty much everything off that chimney, sheet it with our ZIP R. Then we added the cultured stone. It's all waterproofed. They're not gonna have any issues here now. One of the other things that we actually noticed as we were going through this process, part of the water damage that was happening below was from the roof and how the kickout was done up where the roof meets the chimney. There really wasn't a great cricket built there in the first place. And then there was no kickout flashing. So at a big heavy rainstorm, which we don't get much of here in Utah, but what we do get obviously was enough to cause some damage. It's also a great place for snow to build up. And as the snow melts in the spring, it just runs off and rots through there. So happy with how we were able to address that problem and make it so that client won't have to see that in the future. Okay, this is actually probably one of my favorite things that we did during this remodel and addition was these back two little sets of landings and stairs. Originally, the home had concrete steps on here that, like I said, were poured up against the brick, so not a great building method. The homeowner had actually torn those off himself at one point and had kind of a little temporary stair set that they were using to get in and out of these doors. Obviously, we pull a permit to do these remodels, and bringing this kind of stuff up to code is important. So we did put a little landing here, a little set of stairs. We built this very cost effective. So we actually used some stained cedar boards. Really happy with how it turned out. It's clean, it looks nice and neat. It adds a little contrast to the exterior of the home, but it's also cost effective. So super happy with that. Now with the railing, a lot of times when we have custom welded metal railings made, they can range anywhere from $125 a foot to over probably the highest we typically do is somewhere around $350 a foot. Obviously that doesn't line up with our budget-friendly remodel. So we found this great product. Our friends from Builders First Source actually recommended this. This is called the Cinch railing system. It's actually really easy. So it comes in different pieces. You have a rake rail, a level post, an empty post, and an end post. And you just build it on site. The cool thing about this rake rail is it actually ships flat, like the level rail. And then all you have to do is pivot the rail to whatever angle you need. And then it has these little brackets that attach both to the top and bottom post, and you just slide your rake into these little brackets and you're done. So overall, I think we spent somewhere around $2,100 to $2,300 for the set of railing material. We have 2 decks here. And as soon as the guys got one side built, the rest of them went pretty smooth. Getting the first one figured out was a little bit tricky, but once they figured it out, they got moving pretty quickly. The other thing I really love about this Cinch product that is just a little attention to detail on their end is they actually ship you out these caps. And these caps go on the bottom of the posts in any location. So whether you're bolting into your cedar deck or if you're bolting down into the concrete, the plate on the post, you can run your bolts through, your anchor bolts, whatever you're using, screws, and then you can actually use these plate covers that just kind of snap together at the bottom and give you a nice, clean, finished custom look. So really happy with this product. Again, I think they have a bunch of different color options and different things that they offer, but this Cinch railing, great value, really sturdy, really happy with how it turned out. Now, the one thing that I want to point out again, we added these 2 exterior light fixtures outside of the door. Not only does it now meet code, but again, goes back to that safety and comfort for your guests. Having lights outside of these rear doors allows them to enjoy the backyard and use the space. It's just one more great selling point when you're putting this listing up online. Over here on the little side yard is actually where we ended up placing our condensers. So we did choose to use Trane XR heat pumps, and this is just a much more efficient system than what was installed in the house originally. Like I said, when the house was originally built, there wasn't air conditioning. At some point between the late 70s and when we started construction, someone had come through and added 1 condenser. And there was 2 furnaces that were kind of pieced together with a hodgepodge of multiple brands throughout the house. wasn't the most efficient, didn't work very well, and quite frankly, one air conditioner was not enough to make this home comfortable. So we actually ended up mid-project deciding to add a full brand new HVAC system in this house. We went with Trane. So we have two 96% efficient furnaces inside. We actually added an ERV to bring in our fresh air. Now that we are so tight and so sealed, we want to make sure that we're bringing in that clean air so that we don't have another issue of having a sick home. So condensers look great over here. During construction, we were able to get these condensing lines actually inside the walls, inside the home. Previously, they just had it mounted to the side of the house all the way around, and it did not look great, wasn't the best way to do it, but we were able to cut very few holes inside during construction and get these condensing lines through the home. We were trying not to actually remodel any of the interior of the home during this process. Because it was a budget-friendly remodel, this was something that we were trying to be really cautious about. So cutting less holes inside was a huge deal for us. Happy with how these look here on the outside. We were actually able to add our disconnects right at the units, which is what we want. Looks fantastic. And the back of this house, the sides of this house, the front of it, it's all around looking a ton better. Let's go back out front and recap this entire project from start to finish. All right, guys, as I said, this is turning into a rental, so having things like these 2 electric car chargers and now a fully finished interior garage is a huge priority here. There is nothing like pulling into a garage of a home that is clean, finished, and looks just like part of the house. We installed baseboard in this space as well as casing, but what we did differently here is this is actually a PVC product. So because of all of our snow here in Utah, as these guests come in and out of the garage with cars or vehicles covered in snow and salt and ice, this PVC baseboard is not going to soak up or absorb any of that liquid. The homeowner already had the garage floor epoxied, which was a huge bonus here in our climate as well. We added some LED lights here in the garage just to make it nice and bright, comfortable and safe. So again, top priority on a rental, you're going to want to make sure that your clients are comfortable, your clients are safe, and that there is no maintenance or it's an easy home to live in. So upgrading that HVAC system made a huge difference. Upgrading the electrical service made a huge difference. And we upgraded the entire house's building envelope drastically. Before we started construction, we actually blower door tested the house at a 7.2 ACH, air changes per hour. And that's actually not insanely terrible considering how the house was built. I expected it to be over a 10. So that kind of blew me away from the beginning. But then as we went through and did our remodel, sealed up the exterior properly, we actually blower door tested the home again at the end. If you watched the last episode, you'll know how excited I was to see our blower door test come in at a 3.8. Now that is huge. It's still not back where it should be according to today's code, but considering the fact that we have a true wood burning fireplace with an open flue in the house right now that we were unable to seal off during the test, that's a big deal. So I'm really happy with how that blower door test ended up. And again, the benefit to that is now our utility bills are going to be lower. The house, because it has spray foam insulation, is actually much quieter than it used to be. You won't hear cars driving by. It's just a lot more comfortable inside than we had previously without doing a ton of interior renovations. So start to finish, we were able to complete this project in little less than 90 days, which is fantastic. Our budget was $200,000. All said and done, we came in at $210,000, which isn't half bad considering we ended up replacing the entire electrical service to the home. And we also replaced the entire HVAC system, adding 2 air conditioning condensers that are heat pump. We have modulating furnaces, and we also added that ERV for extra comfort and fresh air coming into the home. I would say I'm super happy with how the budget worked out. I'm really happy with how our timeline worked out. And overall, the client is now going to be able to put this house on Airbnb or some type of rental website. And you can come stay here in Sandy, Utah, just less than 10 minutes away from some of the best ski resorts in the state. Thank you guys so much for watching that 70s remodel. This has been a fun project to do, and we can't wait for the next one. You can find me on Instagram or TikTok at Stephanie Builds It. We'll see you next time on The Build Show.